We open on a cacophony of sounds. The ringing of steel, the yelling of warriors, and the screaming of the innocent. The flicker of flames, the moans of the injured. The world as you see it swirls in death and darkness and terror all around you. Faces you recognize and faces you do not lay on the ground. And a creature of shadow and fear falls. A final noise rings out. A deep, sonorous sound of a bell. Suddenly, the darkness, the creatures, the Mothman, all dissolve and disappear around you. And after a moment, those in the square near one of the great bell towers of the Red City of Agmar look toward one another and to those that saved them, the Golden Tree Adventuring Guild. And a stunned cheer of victory begins to ring out. Suddenly, there is a whirl of activity. People rush toward one another, towards friends and strangers and family. Welcome to Reckless Attack, a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons actual play podcast. My dear players, what do you do?
So, Checkers. There's a lot going on for Checkers right now, and part of that involves Billiam flying Kaskrin up towards the top of the obelisk, because that was the last thing that Checkers had told Billiam to do. And Kaskrin is basically flying, basically being airlifted from the ground towards the top of the obelisk after having done his last final heroic action against the Mothman, and is just kind of like waiting to be let down.
Selv is now at ground level and having just hoisted Barzog up into the air to, I believe, deliver the killing blow, or one of the almost killing blows against the Mothman. Selv kind of looks around and sees Val on the ground unconscious. I kind of run over to Val, and as I'm running, I reach back into a side pocket on my bag, and I pull out a potion, and I slide in next to her, and I uncork the thing with my teeth, and I just dump a healing potion into her mouth.
Val rushes awake. It's a magic potion that rips her from unconsciousness, and she grabs the front of Selv's gi and is just in terror at what unconsciousness was like, the emptiness and vastness of it, because she has never dreamed, she has never experienced darkness in that sense before, and she is terrified in that moment, and you just see her frantically panting and in a panic that she experienced that. It takes her several minutes to calm down, and it's still in all of those moments like grabbing on to Selv's robes and kind of almost like holding the front of him in a way that like makes him hug her, because she needs that in this moment.
Easy, you're fine.
And she's
Wolf.
just
Okay then.
yeah.
For the listeners at home, there was a very robust pantomime of holding a head and then being yoinked.
Yes.
That was really,
The wolf was a hug.
Yes, yes.
Yes, that was when the hug happens.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. So Val is basically making Selv hug her for several minutes.
Kaskrin finally gets let down at the top of the obelisk, and he is just like, everything hurts. You know, he's like, I think I broke a few ribs. But we did it! Right? We got him! Right, Checkers? Look at us go! That was great! And I think the Checkers that you're seeing at the top of the obelisk is perhaps a little bit different than maybe the Checkers that you're used to. Because Checkers has really been through a lot today, actually. You don't say. You know, between the just absolute adrenaline from being in the middle of all of these Mothmen, the sounds of people getting hurt and the sounds of battle, to being on top of the obelisk and being connected to something that he does not understand, but being granted its power for just that brief moment, and having this voice reverberate in his head. We rise to defend the people. And then having the Mothman really just blast him with psychic energy and just like scramble all of his thoughts to just, it's all just kind of coming crashing down on him right this moment as he realizes that Kaskrin is being lifted by Billiam, and he's moving. He's alive. He survived being trampled by the large, shadowy creature that the Mothman created, and is rejoicing. And Checkers just kind of turns to you, and there's just a lot of emotion on his face right now, I think. And he just weakly goes, Yeah, Kaskrin. We did it, didn't we? I don't know what we did, but we did it. And Kaskrin, you know, he is jubilant. Like, he's been... We saved the city. Like, this is a time to rejoice, to be merry. But when he sees that look on Checkers, he softens.
Do you mind if I ask?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is the look? What is it that Kaskrin sees? He's different, right? Checkers is different, and it's been a long day.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just he looks tired in a way that Checkers often does not look tired. But like, what's the image?
I think for the first time, Kaskrin may actually see Checkers be worried. He's trying very hard to hide it under like a veneer of, like, in a way he is putting on an act. Like, he's pretending to be Checkers, basically, to rejoice, to understand that like they did a good thing. But I think in the back of his mind, he was really worried about Kaskrin for a moment, in a way, and showed it maybe in a way that he wouldn't normally. In his mind, he was thinking that he more or less left Garnak to his own fate to try and help Kaskrin, also at the expense of potentially defeating the Mothman. You know, he saw how close the Mothman was to just ripping the bell tower from reality, and still chose to save Kaskrin instead. So it's just this look of worry is the best way I can describe it.
And it's not just worry, it is worry directed at Kaskrin, it sounds like.
Or at Checkers himself.
Or or is it just of like, oh God, what did I do?
Yeah, I think that's what makes it complicated. Is it's both. Because it's worry about Kaskrin, it's worry about maybe what others might think about Checkers after what he's done, in a way. Maybe no one else will notice that Kaskrin was airlifted by a small frog, and you know, things will just go on. But in Checkers' mind, is like he really made a choice, and it was a choice made in desperation in some ways, made out of fear, out of emotion, but it was still something he did. So when Kaskrin looks at Checkers, it's not like he is just his old self saying, yeah, great, we did it. It is a very different Checkers. And Kaskrin knows, like, he's never seen Checkers like this before. with this like worried expression about something. There's a moment where he's taken aback, like he doesn't know what's got him so worried, but his face, his expression softens, and he says, "You know, when we first met, all those months back in Lotros, I thought you were just up to no good, honestly. I mean, you basically were. You kept stealing all of these things, and I had to go out every time to go find out what was up. And every time I'd get there, there would be no evidence. It's just like someone came, stole something, and vanished. And then one day I hear this, this chuckle from the rafters, and I look up and there's just this blue frog staring at me. And over time, like, I've seen you go from a thief, a vagabond, to an adventurer, to a protector today. You saved people's lives today, Checkers. You saved my life. Whatever's got you worried, know that we did a good thing today. Know that you did a good thing for me, and I respect that. I respect you, and I'm proud of you. You know, I see you putting in this work. I see you trying to be the best and running for it, grasping for it with everything that you have. And yeah, that means a lot to me." And as Checkers is hearing these words, I think that he would probably try to maybe cover things up a little bit, get his composure back, and just,
Well, don't expect it again, Kas. You know, it's
What'd Checkers say?
I appreciate how quickly Checkers didn't believe what he was saying.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
like he ran out of his own lying steam in that moment of like, well, yeah, I'm not going to do it again. Oh, God.
Oh, no. You know, Kas, I guess I'm glad that I came here with you. I certainly couldn't let you have all this fun by yourself, right?
And I think Checkers, for the most part, just kind of looks at Casperin and just kind of looks around at what has happened tonight. And he pulls out the small urn that he was planning on throwing into the obelisk. And he kind of like just chucks it off of the obelisk into the fire. Casperin, seeing you take the urn, kind of weakly reaches into a pouch that he has and is surprised that it didn't break. Like he pulls out
Yeah, I
an
was just
urn.
say pulling out
Yeah, and he's like
shards.
It's a little dusty, it's a little worse for wear, but he takes an urn out too. And he like tilts his head towards you and kind of holds it out and says, "Can you throw this one into the flames for me too?" And Checkers will grab the urn from Casperin and actually kind of look over to where he threw his urn and look down. And I'm thinking that the urn kind of shattered on like the upper part of the bonfire.
Yeah, kind of from above, it really strikes you that there are flames, but it's not behaving in the way you would expect flames to. They're not illusory, but also they're not putting off any heat.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to be consuming any of the wood, but it seems to be normal flame that turns to green modes. It's very, very strange, is my point, and can easily have something atop it, shall we say.
Yeah. And he looks over and just kind of sees where his urn shattered. And rather than seeing kind of the ashes of something like he might have been expecting, instead of seeing the green motes fly up into the air, he actually sees his necklace, the necklace that he put into the urn, caught on one of the pieces of wood at the top of the bonfire, and it's not burning at all. Like, he looks at it for a good 10, 15 seconds, and it is entirely unchanged. He looks at Kaskrin with almost this, like, panicked look, I would say. Like,
That's not supposed to happen.
Checkers, what's wrong?
I gotta go.
He, like, throws the urn back at you and calls out,
Come on, Billiam, we got work to do.
and he grabs onto Billiam's tongue because Checkers and Billiam are actually going to go into the fire at the top of the large bonfire where his necklace is. And he's actually going to go try to retrieve it.
Kaskrin looks at you. He holds his own urn in his hands, and he sees you grabbing onto Billiam and basically just like rappelling down the side of the obelisk, leaving him alone. He takes, the urn that you've given back to him and tosses it over the edge himself. I'm trying to think of like what's going through his head right now. It's just like a jumble of like something's going on with Checkers, and like everything's finally over. We've won. We've saved the day. But like none of it comes out in words, and instead he just like lies back as a green mote kind of flits up next to him and disappears in the sky. And with that, like tears just start running down his eyes and onto the obelisk.
And Checkers is retrieving his necklace. What does he do once he gets it? It is cool to the touch.
I think he would be at the bottom of the obelisk at that point, looking at this thing, trying to understand why nothing happened to it. This is theoretically a large magical fire. If anything was going to destroy it, it would have been this. So he's just looking at it, and he's been thinking about this necklace basically for hours at this point, thinking about what it was going to be like to finally be free from it, basically. And he puts it back on, but it's like he's putting a chain around his own neck.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Come in, grab a seat. I've got an announcement for you this midroll, so you'll want to get comfortable. We're coming up to the end of this arc, and our heroes are engaged in a climactic battle against the Mothman for the future of the Red City of Agmar. Once this arc is over, at episode 42, the Reckless Attack crew is going to take a little bit of a break. But we plan to come back better than ever. Don't you worry though, we won't be gone long. And for those of you who are still catching up, it'll be like we never left. Specifically, for all you lovely listeners that tune in each and every week, we'll be taking a pause for about a month on both our Reckless Attack and Reckless to Talk interview series, but are planning on resuming our release schedule on September 20th of 2022. During this time, we'll be making some updates to the way that we make these episodes, as well as our Patreon, so we can continue to show our appreciation for the people that support us there. For more details on our end of arc break, be sure to follow us on Twitter at reckless_attack. We really appreciate your understanding as we take this time, but know that we aren't going anywhere. Our goal is just to get a little bit of room so that we can make sure that these episodes continue to be enjoyable for you and fun and sustainable for us to make. Thanks again for stopping by. Now, back to the episode.
As Val's breathing starts to slow and become more regular, she'll mind link to Selv, simply saying thank you, and release her undeath grip from his robes and
I didn't do
sit
anything
back.
you didn't already do for me.
Still, I appreciate it. I think she'll sit back and look out onto what she missed, what has happened, and with the perspective of not being solely focused on the main Mothman, see what was happening in the periphery. Her mind kind of starts to go into like triage mode. It's slowly working towards there. She's still playing catch up, but that's like kind of where her mind starts to go to. And because she's mind linked with Selv, he's not getting direct thoughts of that, but he's got an insight into where her mind is going.
And all around you guys, first and foremost, you see the group of Verdant Wave members, of Town Guard members, of Red Guard members, of all sorts of people who were coming to your aid and assisting you in that last final volley against the Mothman Prime, have all moved around you. Some of them are checking on you guys. A few of them are looking at the bell tower to ensure nothing is happening. They are trying to move people away, and the Red Guard are already starting to keep clearing people out of the area just in case. But Val, you still see there are mortal forms laying still on the ground, but there are far more who are limping off, who are standing around in awe, and most importantly, who are reaching down, extending an arm, extending a hand, a shoulder to one another. It doesn't take a lot of insight, even though you have plenty mechanically, to see that there were still a lot of destruction here tonight, and a lot of pain, and a lot of terror. But it is much better for having you guys and having the Red Guard and everyone involved as they were. There is already motion as people are barking out orders, are calling out for help. It has shifted remarkably quickly from a battlefield to, like you said, a triage and a crisis management situation.
As Val sees just regular mortals helping each other out, she feels heartened. She feels just that much better about what's happened tonight, and she'll slowly, using Selv's help, start to stand.
And I'll help Val get to her feet, and then I'm gonna kind of try to catch the eye of Kavos and Barzog, and then I will, once I catch their eye, I will give them not a bow of greeting, but a more formal bow. Selv will take his arms and kind of cross them parallel to the ground in front of him, and then lean forward and actually give quite a deep bow.
Grasping his own forearms,
yes,
basically.
Yeah, grasping his own forearms, and then lean forward and give kind of a deep bow to both of them.
So you see Barzug and Kavos, the two members of the Verdant Wave. Barzug, the dwarf, you can see she is kind of helping Kavos up, just because while he was not unconscious, he was
close.
He was extremely close. And you see her kind of helping him up, and he is limp, exhausted. He is battered and is accepting the help and catches your eye as you are kind of trying to catch his and theirs. Before you even start your bow, he kind of pushes Barzug off of him. And she kind of rolls her eyes at him a little bit.
Yeah.
And Kavos, the red dragonborn, faces you and places his fist on his chest, as you've seen him do before. The two of you unspeakingly bow in, as far as anyone can tell, perfect unison, and slowly get back up. And Kavos then tries very, very hard not to look injured as he walks away to essentially meet the rest of his guild, including Giannis Varga, who was one of the members of the kind of cavalry who were coming to help you guys. You guys hear the voice, all of you, but obviously loudest of all to Selv and Val. You hear the voice of Vina Calvetta, the head of the Red Guard, who runs up to you two. Everyone okay? Is everyone okay? Are you all right?
Val, at Vina's words, actually starts looking around for Kas and Checkers because she's realizing she hasn't seen them and seen if they're okay. So she'll slowly, but then start frantically looking for her friends.
You see Kas is just alone at the top.
No, so I imagine at some point, like, this has taken a while. Checkers has gotten his necklace. Kaskrin has kind of just, like, relaxed is not the right word, but he is, like, spent. Like, he's done. There's no more tears. He's just, like, resting.
He has come to the realization he will not be getting down off the obelisk.
Yeah.
And has now taken up residence at the top.
I built a small house up here. It's quite delightful. There's balloons. And at some point, Checkers and Kaskrin would make their way back down.
Yeah.
Probably, not really a word shared between the two of them. As Vina comes up, Kaskrin and Checkers are there as well.
Val will run up and give you both a hug, just like arm around each of your necks. Checkers, you can't get out of it. She's too quick.
Just like claws at the arm, just like,
Ow. It's fine, we're safe.
And Kaskrin like stiffens up in pain. It's like, not so hard, Val. My ribs.
She doesn't listen for like 5 seconds.
Yeah. It's good to see you too. And like with, what Kaskrin is able to do, he moves towards Selv as well and kind of gives you that like forearm to forearm handshake.
Oh, sure.
Of like...
Yeah, Selv will happily return that.
Yeah, and gives like a meaningful nod to Valeska and just...
You've already been hugged. It's
Right,
fine.
yeah, and afterwards it's like, good job, Buzz.
And I think also, too, at some point, Mango would have returned with Garnak. Because Mango was out there trying to help Garnak from being...
Garnak, the Minotaur, who was pulled into a dark alleyway.
Yeah, right. And people just kind of like slowly start to form around the golden tree. People that we've met before, people that we've saved somehow.
Yeah, we still see people who were here, like Fogrin, the dwarf. Alareth is there, kind of hanging around by one of the trees. Vina's next to us. Maybe we even see some members of the Bones who were called in. The Fortunate off in the distance, as we're, almost just like being encircled by the people of the city, the people that we've saved, and the people who've met and saved us in return.
We'll go over to Vina and I guess report that we're all here.
Present and accounted for. Does anyone have anything else that they want to do as part of this sequence?
I was going to say, Val will specifically not throw her urn in. She will, unseal it and take out the parchment she put in there, scribble out what she wrote, and quickly rewrite something down, and then throw the new urn. Or edited version.
Yes, yeah.
Back in there.
Same urn, different, same parchment. You get it.
Version 2.
Yes.
So I will also kind of make my way to the towards the pyre, maybe stop about 5-6 feet from it, take out the urn, and it's actually not completely broken, but there are several cracks into it. And he actually pulls out a small, triangular shaped piece that has clearly broken from the rest of it, but it's still set in there. Kind of takes that out, looks in, still sees his little bit of parchment in there, replaces that small triangular ceramic piece, and then takes it and tosses it into the pyre by the obelisk. And then, watches it break, watches that little green mote
It
form,
goes up almost immediately.
and just watches it kind of drift all the way up until he can't see it anymore, and then just says,
May my oath be heard.
and then turns and walks back to the group.
Yeah.
Nice. Actually, I'm going to change my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Val's urn was broken as she fell unconscious, and she will not find the parchment that was in it. So she will not throw anything into the obelisk,
Okay.
into the pyre.
Selv, as you're turning back, having thrown your urn into the pyre, Kaskrin is like kind of sitting on a sidewalk curb, resting, but he looks at you, and I imagine you approach, and Kaskrin just kind of asks, like, it's a difficult thing giving something up to the obelisk.
Indeed.
I gave up my fear of change, and I hope that the obelisk takes it, you know? It took me months to work up the courage to finally join the Golden Tree, and even then I had to be prodded. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being afraid of what's to come. I'd rather charge forward with everyone else around me. And it's like, you know, saying that to himself, but also saying that to you as like a way to, something he's confiding in you. That's what he did.
Selv will kind of put his hand on your shoulder and just say,
We are more similar than I thought.
and then he just kind of like pats your shoulder and starts heading back to the group.
Selv has secrets too.
Kaskrin has no secrets.
You have two very high insight people. You can't
Yeah,
have secrets from
right.
us.
David, can I ask, why do you think Cass, seeing that Selv threw something in the fire, why do you think that he decided to share that with Selv? To share what he was giving up, what he was tired of, the direction that he wanted to grow? Was it just right place, right time with someone that he trusted? Was it something about Selv? Was it just kind of musing out loud that happened to be at Selv?
I think it's Selv and Kaskrin have fought together for months now in training and now in fighting the Mothman. And to Kaskrin, like, that's the truest way to know someone, is when you're in the thick of it, you're fighting for your lives, and you've got a comrade next to you that you can share the experience with. You know, that's the truest way to get to know someone. And so he is starting to already feel that connection with Selv. And then part of it is also by telling someone, it makes it more real. He can write his fears, write his desires on a piece of paper and cast them into the fire all he wants. But for real change, he has to acknowledge it. He has to work for it. And the best way to do that is by telling someone.
So, activity continues around the bell tower and far beyond it. You are relatively quickly told to get the hell back to bed, that you guys have done enough here tonight. I'm sure
Val will not go until she expends all of her spells
Yep.
and every charge of her healer's kit.
Yeah, I assumed that
stabilize
that wasn't
somebody.
necessarily going to happen the first go round for all of you. But again, at least after a little while, I imagine that Vina Calvetta herself comes up to you guys and quietly, respectfully orders you to get the hell out of here. But does so with respect, with saying, hey, like, you guys did your jobs. We can take it from here. The city will be here when you wake up. The four of you head back to your guild hall. It is a decent walk. You have to go down one of the main roads in the city, where not but a few hours ago, there was activity, there was joy, there was all kinds of things. And you know that technically it probably should be going now, but, well, Mothman attacks have a way of dampening the mood. So you see empty stalls, you see the aftermath of a day of celebration and joy. It was cut short, but it was a day of joy nonetheless. You walk through the city. There are still people out in it, but no one pays you too much mind at this point, and you're able to just walk together until you get back to your door. I imagine one of you guys swings open your front door, and behind the reception desk, you see Berga staring wide-eyed at you guys. Taroth perched somewhere behind her, just his face up against the wall for no apparent reason, and atop the desk, an asleep Hody and very colorful chicken resting on Hody, who are both deep asleep. But as soon as you guys walk through the door, an explosion of joy and welcoming and happiness greets you. A lot of yaws, a lot of hugs, a lot of pats, a lot of asking respectfully, making sure everyone is okay, and welcoming you home, plying you with food and drinks and tales and whatever it is that you need are all waiting for you back inside of your guild hall. I imagine also maybe you all go straight to bed. Maybe you all stay up a little bit longer. And you just exist with one another for a little while. Until eventually, either one by one or all at once, you all eventually go to bed. Wherever your bed may be for the evening.
On top of a giant skywhale plushie. She pulls...
Is the plushie bed-sized?
Yeah, for Val it is.
For Val it is. Especially curled up. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it is there. It is in your room. The skywhale plushie has made its journey. Any amount of inspection that I presume you do to it, it passes muster. It seems like everything is fine. ...
Val will trust it because she's too tired.
Yeah.
Kaskrin's bed has never looked so comfortable as it has right now.
Do you get all the way back into your comfy satin PJs, or do you flop?
Oh no, he gets back into a satin PJ.
I
Like
assume.
that's part of the experience.
Yeah.
I love that Kaskrin has the 45-minute, 15-step skincare routine, but like
Yes.
it's like a PJ routine.
Yes.
We
Exactly.
gotta put the left shoe on, the right shoe on, in that order.
And maybe you even stop by the hot springs to at least wash up. Whatever it is that your nightly routine entails after a day of horror, and also of being covered with flour and of hide and go seek. Excuse me, scavenger hunting. The next morning, you all awake. The sun is up. It is a bright, late summer day in the Red City of Agmar, and outside of all of your windows, you can already hear some of the thrum of activity.
We just saved the city. They can't let us sleep in.
No one wakes you up, we'll put it that way. But more that the city is already churning back to life. If you'll pardon the bit of a montage further, eventually you find yourselves all back downstairs together once more. Maybe you're eating breakfast, maybe you're talking, maybe you are all staring blankly at a wall. Whatever group activity you need.
It's like the end of Avengers where they're
Eating shawarma?
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
I do imagine Val has somehow subconsciously set the rule that we all eat together.
I think that's a good one. At the center of this table is a giant pile of both pastries and ales from Torts and Ports that has been already pre-delivered in the morning.
Lovely.
With a cutesy little note that just says thanks.
Kaskrin is moving a lot slower than usual, but he comes down to breakfast like full on, like baby blue satin PJs. He's got the hat, he's got the slippers, he's like shuffling along. And he
Amazing.
sits down. I'm just imagining like Checkers for some reason is just like holding Colaprico just like above his head and just like running around like a
like from a Zelda game
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're trying to jump far distances.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And like maybe Val just sees him and is just like, it's gonna be one of those days. Huh?
I'm imagining Colapricos having the time of their life, actually, and
Right.
he's just like squawking, like doing like random chicken, because he's not a rooster. She's a chicken.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
Just
chicken
squawking,
noises
just
are.
barking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
barking.
Mhm.
Whatever. They're having a great time.
It's like a balk of joy.
Yeah.
Clearly, she's a very evocative, talkative chicken. And as you guys are digging into the pastries and kind of just starting your day, whatever this day might be, you guys hear a knock at the door. And Berga excuses herself and wheels herself kind of around the corner.
We know that's not Alareth.
You hear a little bit of conversation, kind of just out of earshot, where you can hear it, but you can't quite pick out the words being said. And Berga comes back into the room and she says, could the four of you just come here for just one moment? There's something that I think you should see.
Val gets up like
Do I
where?
need to get my staff?
Yeah.
No, nothing like that. Just follow. And she just like wheels herself around and just like
Casperin
forces
just, like-
you guys to follow.
Sat down and is like, and then slowly just like creeps back up.
Val like brings whatever pastry she was eating with her, and I would also just like it known that Jonathan mimed tucking Colapricos.
I was gonna say that. I'm just like, Chico just like tucks the chicken underneath his arm, like hops on Mango. It's like, oh,
Perfectly
okay.
behaved.
Yeah.
I feel like though this chicken was gifted to Val, it might end up being Checkers' chicken.
And this is perfect. Again, you guys are all like in pajamas, actively holding chickens or half-eaten pastries and like rubbing sleep from your eyes. And Berga, with a smile that is a combination of glee and a little bit of a shit-eating grin, flings your guys' front door open. And the four of you see a line of people outside of your door. 10, 15 people that are all standing in line. And as soon as the door opens and shows the four of you in your light state of undress, they all turn and see you and let out a cheer. And Berga looks at you guys and says, well, I think we will have some jobs ahead of us. Yeah?
Yeah.
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 And that is where we will end this arc and this session. We will see you next time, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.